I'm going to jump in and ask for effective communication, and I want you guys to participate. Any engagement is great, including you guys on the phone. What, in your opinion, is the most important characteristic in effective and productive communication? Let me hear it.
Listening.
Yes.
Respect.
Yes, yes. Keep going.
Active listening, like repeating back what you think you hear.
Love that. All great.
Empathy?
Empathy, yes. Very good. Thank you. So those are all great. And because I've got a mic on, so I want to make sure that this is picked up. People talked about respect, empathy, active listening, repeating that back. Those are all really important. The number one most important characteristic is trust. And as you might imagine, all of those kind of lead into trust, right? Active listening, respect. We have to have all of those in order to have trust. There's really three major pillars to building trust. Number one, is that person able? Are they capable? Do they have a strong ability to do what I'm asking them to do? Do they have a strong ability to ask, do they know enough to know that they need to ask for help? Do they have the ability and the safe space to know that they need to ask for help, right? Number two, do they have my back? And do I have theirs? Goes two ways. Will they throw down for me? Not literally, of course, but verbally. Are they going to take a stance with me and keep me safe? Are we a team? Are we going to protect each other? Do we have that open, vulnerable level of communication? Right? Number three, integrity. Will they be honest? Will they be accountable? Are they working together with me to facilitate deadlines, to follow through with what I have been asked to do, to follow through with what I have asked the other person to do? And if they get stuck, do they feel safe in saying, I'm behind, I need help, let's talk about solutions and work together to accomplish successfully the end goal? Okay? The number one most frustrating, well, actually, before I go to that, a lot of the trust is, especially within teams, having the ability to say, help me to help you. Communicate with me, what do you need? How best do you receive communication? How best do you receive feedback? How best do you receive that asking for help? Who remembers that Jerry Maguire, when Tom Cruise and Cuba Gooding Jr. are sitting in the locker room? He's like, help me help you. You know, he's like, stop being so pig-headed. Get out of your own way. Help me help you. Right? So, speaking of pig-headed, what is the number one most frustrating hindrance to effective and productive communication? Let me hear you. Exactly.
What?
Lack of communication. Give me more. How do we get in our own way? How about ego? Heard a lot of like it. And it's not just that person's ego. It's our ego, right? We are our own worst enemies. We are built with preconceived notions, unconscious biases, how we were raised, the experiences that we've had. And based on that, we have these expectations. well, this is how I speak. Why don't they speak like that? This is how I communicate and ask for help. Why don't they do it like that? We have to stop that. Take off the blinders and say, Stephen Covey, seek to understand and then be understood. What do you need? How can I best help you? Again, peers, donors, prospects. It's communication 101. What do you need? If you ask that and you truly listen and you say it back to the person, here's what I'm hearing you say. Am I hearing you correctly? What a great opportunity to build trust, to build relationships, to have that person know they get me. I trust them. I value them. Right? Okay? A couple juicy points that we're going to talk about really quick about gender differences and about generational differences. I'm going to start with gender. Women, I'm going to start with you because there's a lot of you and I love it. Men, we ask that you are patient with us, and I'm going to look at the men in the room. Be patient with us as women. We are process-oriented. We are collaborative. We like to get a general sense of what does everybody think about this? And then I'll come to my conclusion. Sometimes that is thought to be frustrating. Sometimes that is thought to be cumbersome. It's going to take too long if we do that. Ironically, there's so many studies that I can show you. Harvard, MIT, Deloitte, Cerulli. It's not true. Women. We must realize, be sensitive to, and patient with the fact that men are more fact-based, less empathetic, no disrespect. It just is, it is a stereotype, but it's kind of a proven one, especially with those over the age of 40. They are end game driven. What's the final goal? What do we want to accomplish? How do we get there as efficiently and quickly as possible? Right? Again, neither of those perspectives are better or worse, right or wrong. They're just simply different. And the more that we work together and communicate and collaborate, knowing those differences, the more that we will be able to enhance one another and have a better, superior outcome. Again, there are so many studies that statistically have proven this. When we collaborate, it's diversity inclusion 101, right? When we participate and collaborate with each other, we honor, we respect, we engage, we empower different viewpoints. That is when we get the best results, right? Generations. So there are a lot of stereotypes. There's a lot of things that we say and think about men. There's a lot of things that we say and think about women. Everyone's an individual, right? So it's important that we get to know those people, these people in this room, the donors, prospects, as individuals. Their drivers are different. How they receive a message, what they want to hear from you is different. So take a moment, get to know who you're talking to, okay? Who here has had an experience with someone between the age of 25 and 35 that literally made your jaw drop? Where you're like, wow, that was bold, or that was different, or that was not the way I was taught how to do things. We have to flip it. Again, paradigm shift. Stephen Covey, one of my favorites, needless to say. Flip it on its head. So as an individual, Those between anyone born after the age of 1980, they were given a vote. They were given a vote. Where do you want to go on vacation? Where do you want to go to school? Where do you want to go for dinner? And their vote counted, right? So, and now, and the whole trophy and ribbon just for showing up. It is that generation, right? It's funny, but it's true. So now they're like, what do you mean I don't get a say? Okay, I'm 27 years old, been with you for 3 weeks. Yes, I'm asking for a raise, I'm asking for a promotion, I'm asking for whatever. But that's how I was raised. So rather than looking at them like they have two heads and saying, you've got to be out of your mind, say, I love the gumption. I love the fact that you want to grow with us, that you want to prosper. But let's take a step back. Let's do this in a different way. Let me share with you how you will succeed, how you will achieve your goals. Let's mentor the younger generation, support them, not say you're nuts, but figure out, okay, let's work together, because they don't know any better a lot of the times. They just don't. And a lot of our generation, I'm 50, 45 plus, we don't necessarily know how to talk to that younger generation. So it's up to us to figure out how. And I'm available to teach you and to help you learn how to work with them. Because not only does that generational gap matter within the workplace, one of the biggest reasons why there is so much educational material on how to motivate, engage, make loyal the younger generation is because by 2030, so in 10 years, 75% of the workforce is going to be people who were born since 1980. That's a lot of people, 75%. That's 75% of the people who you will be looking to hire. 75% of people who you will be talking to as prospective donors. There is a huge wealth transfer that is going to happen in the next 10 years. 68 trillion with a T, $68 trillion is going to change hands from grandparents, parents, to those born after 1980. So from every perspective, it is important that we learn what drives them. And we take the time rather than, again, looking to them like they're crazy, seeing things from their perspective, giving them the benefit of the doubt, taking the time to train them, mentor them, meet in the middle. They want to have a seat at the table. They want to vote. They are very vocal about what they want. They are not shy. And so it is to our best interest to take the time to figure out how to have them learn our message, how to have them adopt to our culture, and how to maybe adjust our culture to bring them in. That's a whole nother topic, right? But it's important. We have to, again, get out of our own way, look at things differently, get curious. This stuff's really interesting. Of course, it's what I do all day long, but I find it really interesting. A couple of mantras that I absolutely live by and love. I have several, but I'll only share a few with you guys. Golden rule, right? Treat those as you wish to be treated. It's in everything we do. It's a timeless concept. If you have an expectation, a deadline, a project, whatever it might be, treat that person, okay, I've got this deadline. I need information from Joe and Susie in order to get this deadline accomplished successfully. Joe, I'm not hearing from you. Susie, where is that information? If there's a breakdown in that level of communication, let's talk about it. How do we make it better? Do we make weekly meetings? Same time, same day, every week. Don't change it. Facilitate and respect each other's time. Okay? Number 2, Dr. Stephen Covey, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Love it. I'm sure many of you have read it. If you haven't, highly encourage you to do so. Habit number 5, seek to understand and then be understood. What's going on for them? Donors, what makes them feel? How do you engage them? You guys know this better than anybody. National Jewish is such a wonderful organization. The story probably in some ways speaks for itself. But just because the older generation has that feeling, have they shared it with their family? Have you asked that it be shared with their family? Obviously, you want to maintain the donor base. When this wealth transfer occurs, if you haven't engaged with the significant other, made that significant other feel like they're a part of the conversation, they're a part of the vote, they matter. And also engage and get to know the family. It's critical. It's a lot easier to have a continuation of an existing relationship than it is to build a brand new one. That's statistically proven as well. If you want to see, I've got studies out the ears that I can show you, but just trust me, it's true. The last set of mantras, Don Miguel Ruiz, The 4 Agreements. We talked about this yesterday. It's a wonderful book. It's really short, and you can actually skip a lot of it because the 4 agreements themselves are summarized in one section. So it's really easy to read. It's awesome. I love it. I literally have the t-shirt. It's that much my go-to. Number 1, use your words impeccably. I think it's actually literally be impeccable with your words. But why is this even more important today? Because words are often written, right? Text, email, tweet. We don't have the benefit of tone of voice to be able to know what's going on in those words. We don't have the benefit often of body language to help us read between the lines. So, as the sender of a message, semantics matter. Take a moment before you jet out an email or a text or a whatever and read it back to yourself. How is the receiver of this message going to feel when they read this? Is it clear? Is it concise? Do I sound like a jerk? And if I do, add a please and a thank you. Add a something that just makes it feel better. It takes 2 seconds, but it makes a difference. Also, if there are deadlines, I saw a webinar the other day, especially when so many of us are on our phones, you have very little real estate to get the attention of the receiver of the message. So if it is something that is truly important and has a deadline, I need information by 5 o'clock today. Put it in the title. So then that person who's receiving it knows, I better pay attention to this one and read it and communicate back. Be very explicit with your expectations, your needs. Okay? Don't assume that the person knows. Be explicit. Number 2, with the women in this room, and I'm pointing at myself, don't take things personally. It's really hard as a woman, I'm speaking for myself, to not take things personally. It's how we're wired. It literally is how our brains are built. We have a more emotional brain. There's a lot of details in neuroscience that talk about that specifically, but it just is. All right? So other people that maybe are a little bit less sensitive, that don't necessarily understand why this other person is sensitive, you don't need to understand it. You just need to acknowledge it, respect it. Okay? Take 2 seconds, make sure that we're communicating effectively. Number 3, don't assume. Again, these things seem so simple, but they're really not. How many times have you guys been in a presentation, read an email, been a part of a conference call, and you felt personally, negatively affected by that message? Raise your hand. Come on. I mean, and so the first thing you want to do is, hey, Phil, you know, what a jerk. Why did he say that? What did I do wrong? What did I do to make him mad? Did I make a mistake? Why is he mad at me? Right? I mean, it's not pretty. I'm not proud that I do that, but I do. So then, unfortunately, the next thing that happens is we fester. We start building this message, this story of what's going on. And we think again. We fester and it sometimes get dramatic and it's just bad. So rather than assuming, taking things personally, stop. Figure out the best way to ask. Hey, Phil, I was on that call this morning, or I received your email. This is how I perceived your message. This is how I perceived what you wrote. Is that accurate? Am I hearing you, reading you correctly? Is there something more going on? How can I help? And then be quiet. Let them answer. Let your guard down, let your defensiveness down, get curious, let them answer. Hear what they're saying. 9 times out of 10, 8 times out of 10, has nothing to do with you. They are cranky because they are busy and they have a ton on their plate. So they're being direct, they're not thinking about it. It gives them a chance to own that and say, look, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. I got a lot on my plate. Perfect. Now you know. You don't have to assume, you don't have to worry, ruminate. You can take their word for it, let it go, move on. 1 or 2 times out of 10, that it is something that they're frustrated about with you. It is something potentially that was a disconnect between the two of you. Wouldn't you rather know than worry? Have the safe space, the trust that gives you the opportunity to have sometimes tough discussions, right? Hey, you let me down, you missed a deadline, or I needed this for a deadline, you didn't email me back. What do we do to make sure that doesn't happen again? Discuss it. Come to conclusions. Solutions. Be solutions based. Thank you for your time. Respect each other. Move on. Own your mistakes. Say, look, I did mess up here. I apologize. Let's work together. Let's figure it out. Move on. Let it go. All right? Number 4. Always do your best. Not a tall order at all. But what I wanted to kind of dig deeper into with Always Do Your Best is we as a workforce, as a generation, are unfortunately perfectionists. We are controlling. We want to know that something is going to get done in a certain way by a certain time, and we think it should be done the way we think it should be done. Right? What we have to do is say, okay, especially with this younger generation, they like to know, okay, what do you expect from me? What does it look like? What do the steps look like? What is the deadline? What is the end result? What is the goal? Then leave me alone. Let me get it done. Check in with me. I will check in with you. Let's have regular touch base. How's it going? Feedback. Do you need help? Yes, I need help. Or no, I'm good. But so the younger generation, they like specifics. They like deadlines. Make it clear. Tell me the why. I like to understand why you need this by a certain time. Why do you need it this way? But then once I bought into it, let me go, let me do my job. Okay? It's really, really not easy, but can be easier than maybe we make it. Make sense? Yeah. A couple other little nuggets I'm going to leave you with. It is important so a lot of habits that we have, and again, I was a wealth advisor for a long time. I sat in a room where it was it was often, even when the significant other was there, we almost always focused our attention on the patriarch, on the man. We must break that habit, especially as this wealth transfer occurs. We must engage with and have a sense of trust and relationship with significant others, with family members, okay? That will highly improve our chances of keeping that donor, of keeping that family, right? And they need to feel. It's a little bit different. Again, older men tend to be more fact-based performance. What's going to happen with this money? You know, where is it going to go? How is it going to be used? Great, done. Women want to feel. They want to feel good about what they're doing. Younger generation, they want to be empowered. They want to feel that they're a part of the decision. Why is National Jewish important to this family? And why should that continue? Okay? A final statistic that I'll leave you with, and then we'll open it up to questions. Harvard Business Review did a 2018 study of 20,000 employees. I think they sent the survey out to more, but 20,000 wrote back to them and said the number one thing that employees want from their leaders, from each other, is respect. More than promotion, more than opportunity, more than accolades. They want respect. So remember that.